There's an epidemic facing bettors out there right now, and that epidemic is using bet splits or bet percentages in their handicapping process. Today, I'll fill you in on a little secret. Betting splits have very little value. Welcome back to a brand new video here on Circles Off. This is your home for betting education with myself, Rob Pizzola, a real professional sports bettor. Now, this channel is all about helping you get better as a sports bettor, and nearly every day I see some sort of reference to betting splits on social media with people who use it as gospel in making their daily bets. First off, what are betting splits? Well, many sites publish data on what people are betting. What percentage of people are betting on a certain side? What percentage of money is on a certain side? Generally speaking, people are looking to be either contrarian, fade the teams that have the highest percentage of bets, or be on the sharp side, find big discrepancies between the percentage of money and the percentage of bets. And that's a little concept known as reverse line movement. Now, here are the main issues with both of those strategies. First and foremost, public betting and money percentages are largely made up of data that comes from recreational sportsbooks. Why is this an issue, you might ask? Well, recreational sportsbooks are known to limit winning bettors. If the vast majority of the data pool is coming from people that lose when they wager on sports, then the percentage of money on a certain side isn't really all that valuable. That percentage of money could largely be a product of what are typically referred to as whale bettors or VIPs, who are afforded high limits at sportsbooks because of their propensity to lose in the long run. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, if this pool is largely made up of losing bettors, shouldn't I just be able to fade the consensus and win money? Well, the notion of fading the public or fading the consensus is very misguided. What the vast majority of bettors fail to realize is that sportsbooks make money in the long run because of the vig that they charge on games. Most bettors are simple coin flippers. They don't lose in the long run because they lose 80% of the bets. They lose in the long run because they lose roughly half of their bets, but they are paying vig on each one of those bets, making it very difficult to overcome. Add in some bad habits on top of that, like chasing losses, betting parlays, and other exotic wagers, and it's an uphill battle. And that's just the tipping point when it comes to why this data is incredibly flawed. An even larger issue is not knowing which bets came in at which number. Think about all of the line movement that happens on a daily basis when you're following different sports leagues. How many times have you seen an NFL team open up as a 3-point favorite in a game, and then eventually they close as a 4.5-point favorite? Wouldn't it be nice to see the breakdown of bets when the number was at 3, and then 3.5, and then 4, and then 4.5, instead of all those bets just being grouped into one bucket? As of now, this context doesn't exist anywhere and leaves you flying blind to try to interpret what you're seeing. And if that's not enough, maybe the largest issue of all is that by waiting for enough data to flow in, you as a bettor are sacrificing your ability to get closing line value. If you missed my betting tip from a few weeks ago, I implored everyone to bet earlier. You can find that video and understand exactly why, but to sum it all up, as a bettor, you want to give yourself the best chance to get a good number or pay a good price on a game. Closing line value is the price that a bettor gets relative to the closing price. So if you bet a team to win a baseball game at minus 110, and you check the line right before the game starts, and it's minus 140, you've done a great job at getting closing line value. The price has become more expensive as the days went on, and you're now sitting on a bargain. The issue with some public bet split strategies is that they're rooted in what is referred to as reverse line movement, and this is when most of the bets are on one side, but the betting line is moving in the other direction. If 90% of the bets are on one team, but the line's moving in the other direction, it is implied that the other side is the quote-unquote sharp side. However, the sharp side also comes with a price attached to it, and people often forget that or dismiss it altogether. By wanting to be on the same side as the sharps, some people will chase a number that has moved and no longer has value. Let's use one final example here. The Broncos are hosting the Raiders. Your public betting site is telling you that 3/4 of the betting action is on the Denver Broncos. They opened up at minus 3.5, but they now sit at minus 2.5. This is known as reverse line movement. The majority of bets are on Denver, but the line is moving in the opposite direction. The sharps grab the Raiders at plus 3.5. They grab the Raiders at plus 3, and now the line sits at 2.5. the proponents of this strategy would bet the Raiders at plus 2.5 to be on the same side as the sharp action. But Raiders plus 2.5 is not the same bet as Raiders plus 3 or 3.5. Those latter two wagers have closing line value, but Raiders plus 2.5 does not, and that would be considered a coin flip. It's not ideal to be paying minus 110 on a coin flip in the long run. Your takeaway from this video should be to be very cautious when using public betting data. I would honestly suggest just avoiding it completely, but if you're dead set on using this as part of your handicapping, at least make sure you understand its limitations. This is an imperfect data set that leads to a lot of errors from bettors in the long run. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, I have questions, how do I get them covered on this channel? Well, subscribe, turn on notifications by hitting that bell below, and simply ask us any questions that you might have down below in the comments.